We're at the London EV show. I'm here on the Humax stand with Simon Humphreys, the retail director. And Humax is a new entry into the consumer EV charger market. So Simon, could you tell us about what your actual role is at Humax?
Hi, good morning, James. My role at Humax is to, as you've quite rightly pointed out, is retail. So I look after set-top box for Humax, along with our new range of EV chargers into high street retail, as well as wholesalers and distributors.
Okay, so you mentioned wholesalers there. So what's your approach to wholesalers, and how do you ensure that business is a success?
Basically, we support wholesalers via our distributor. We work alongside all our wholesalers with training videos and POS, really any sort of day-to-day support they may need. More importantly, for that to be whittled down to their customers, the installers and contractors, absolutely vital that we actually support the whole channel.
So you've recently announced a partnership with Kelvalec. Can you tell us a little bit about that partnership?
Yeah, absolutely. Kelvalec are really a perfect fit for Humax. They've got all the ISO accreditations. They've basically got 1,000 active wholesalers, with a further 2,500 wholesalers actually on their database. They've got lots of room for expansion next year, so they're opening up another sales office next door, so employing further sales guys. But for us, they kind of have the same sort of energy, and they actually, the way they kind of work with their customers is very similar to the way that we work with our traditional customers with set-top box, really. It's all about brand reputation and also kind of making sure that end user and the customer is satisfied with support.
So it sounds like you've got a lot of synergy between the two companies. What about the relationship with installers? How important is that to building the success of a home EV charger?
Absolutely critical. It's the installers that will be using the equipment. So what we'll be doing is setting up webinars, regular webinars for installers, regular training. More importantly is actually ensuring and reaching out to installers to get feedback of any further improvements to the technology. So really, as I say, it's absolutely vital for us.
So you provide a lot of support for your installer network. So what are your future plans for high street retail?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good question. So high street retail and online retail, traditional retail outside of the wholesaler space hasn't really, adopted EV charging as quickly as the wholesaler market. So what the idea with traditional high street retail is that we're actually going to be selling them solution. So that won't just be the hardware, that'll be the installation as well as the service package. So really giving a one-stop solution to the end user. And I think that's where further adoption will definitely pick up within normal sort of high street retail, yeah.
So delivering a package like that requires a partnership. So are there any exciting partnerships that you could tell us about that are on the horizon?
Yeah, we're working with a number of UK-wide installers. So and maintenance companies. So at the minute, we are actually sort of trying to finalise those partnerships. We're actually sort of test bedding a lot of those as we currently speak, with a number of orders that we're managing at the minute.
So is there anything that particularly excites you about the future of EV charging and Humax's role in it?
Yeah, we've got, obviously we've got a second generation wave of products coming through, which we're really excited about, which obviously we can't talk too much about today. So the specification...
You told me you'd have to kill me.
So, in the coming months, that the specification and the release date will come out. But, some really, really good feedback we've had on those new ranges. And I think, again, going back into retail, I think, these ranges that will be, I think, really, really good for retail in terms of the functionalities and the different features we have on those. But yet again, I think, we'll as I say, we'll be in the coming months, we'll be able to release that information.
So some exciting secret squirrel stuff coming up.
No, I think absolutely. I think, Humax is going from is really going places with EV. And I think there's a lot of development, a lot of work that's going in our R&D career. Not forgetting that we've already sold 16,000 units on EV chargers in Korea. We're not just new to the market, we're new to the UK market and European market, but we're pretty established in South Korea. So, we've got quite a lot of pedigree already. There's a lot of people in the UK market that won't know this, so it's, in terms of, we're a new brand in terms of EV, but we're not as new to the technology, as it were.
So, I mean, that's kind of a secret weapon. How do you actually hope to leverage that? Not just your kind of your obvious brand establishment in Korea, but also the value. You work across the set-top boxes as well. So, how do you hope to kind of bring that brand awareness and really make that work for you?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a good question because I mean, we've as I say, we've been established for well over 30 years in the UK. So we've and as you quite rightly say, we've created a really trusted household brand that's very reliable. We're frequently every year winning awards for products on set-top box, and we will continue to do that with EV for sure. We're very focused on building quality product, and I think building that reputation, and as you quite rightly say, is just carrying that reputation over from set-top box to EV. Yet again, we've also got this good heavy PR around us, which is already established, and we'll just go use that PR and existing platforms that we've already got to then venture into the EV marketplace.
So, I mean, you do provide a lot of aspects of the EV charging, but you clearly need to work with partnerships. What bit of advice would you give to new entrants to the EV market?
Is, I would say, make sure you've got a good product, basically, and your market.
As I said at the beginning, we're here at the London EV show. So what would you particularly suggest that attendees look at the show, and what's the most exciting things that you think, apart from obviously everything on the Humax stand?
Yeah, there seems to be a lot of DC chargers here. I only briefly walked around the show yesterday, and the show's only obviously opened this morning. So yeah, I mean, look, I would, as I say, I'm quite interested to see a lot of the sort of DC chargers here, and really kind of, they seem to be sort of, as I say, kind of high wattage, high kilowatts machines. So yeah, I as I say, I haven't really walked around properly the show yet, only opened this morning. So yeah, I'm just kind of looking for probably new technologies with some decent USPs. And more importantly, is obviously for us to walk around the show and pick up any new technologies and new features that people are working on. And as I say, we've got an R&D team back in Korea, which, we've collectively put a lot of ideas together, which has been really refreshing, actually, working from the UK, and then obviously being able to filter those ideas all the way back into the R&D in Korea. And I think that's vital, that we've actually got a team that really listen to what other market sectors are feeding back.
Well, and what do you see is the reason for the kind of the growth in DC chargers? Why are we seeing more of them at the show?
Well, I think traditionally this is more a B2B show, so that would make sense that you have more DC chargers than AC chargers. Mainly because obviously you've got your 7 kilowatt, which is targeted towards the home charger, and your 22 kilowatt. But really, anything above that, is more classed as what I was kind of almost classed as a commercial charger.
So maybe that's a sign that the B2B and the commercial market is starting to really blossom, and more companies are taking seriously the idea of electrifying their fleets.
Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah, without question, and I think with more government grants and tax breaks, I think that's going to be inevitable, that transition, especially with, as you say, with the number of fleet vehicles, vans and lorries, etc. It's only going to be a natural progression to, well, actually, we're going to be sort of all electric in the coming years.
So do you see retail or commercial as being the most important between your two businesses?
I think traditionally we're a retail company, with set-top box. We've got Leon obviously really driving the B2B sector, along with, I'm doing little bits of B2B myself, not just B2C. as I said, I will be approaching national accounts, which we've already got established relationships with anyway with set-top box. There's some pretty big, sizable national accounts. So in the coming months, I will be personally approaching those accounts as those retailers about, obviously the ranges that we have, in the view of, putting a kind of almost one-stop package for them, which we've discussed earlier. I'm also personally working on other projects as well. So I'm working on a hotel group where there'll be a rollout over quite a few car parks. I'm also working on a few pub chains, which total around 5,000 car parks. So, there is lots going on behind the scenes with Humax.
That sounds like a really exciting future for Humax and for EV charging in general. So thanks for all your insights, Simon. This has been the London EV Show, the Humax stand. Thanks for watching.